Looking to upgrade your mixing game? Today we're going to be talking about some of the best free plugins that you can get off the internet. Let's get started. Hello everybody, Dylan Pines here from Musician on a Mission, here with another mixing tutorial for you. This is going to be a bit of a weirder video. I'm not actually going to be doing any in-depth tutorials on any particular plugins, but I wanted to sit down and just kind of really quickly run through some of my favorite free plugins, stuff that you can download off of the internet for free. These are all plugins that I love using for my mixes, stuff that either is extra from your DAW, stuff that just does not come in your DAW, or it's stuff that I might think is better than what you have in your DAW. Maybe the average stock plugin just isn't really cutting it for what you need. Hopefully one or two of these plugins can really up your game, maybe solve a few problems that you have too. So let's get straight into it. So first off, let's talk about some EQs that I love using. We're going to start off with SLATE's Revival. This is a free plugin you can get from slate.com. I got this maybe 5-6 years ago, and I love it. It's one of the best ways I've found to get some really nice shimmery top end. All it really is it's just, well, there's a lot of cool stuff going on underneath the hood, but pretty much it just enhances your top end with shimmer, and it enhances your low end with thickness. That's really all it does. Now, Steven Slate has been very big on saying, this isn't just an EQ. There's some secret sauce going on under the hood that, even I don't really know what it is, but it does really help with, your vocals if you're wanting that airiness, with your bass if you want more thickness. I even put it on a lot of my mixes, on my mix bus, and I'll add just a little bit of top end, a little bit of bottom end, just to give it more of that smile curve. So let's check out a quick before and after.
Through dawn or dusk we'll break from ourselves uncaged. Through dawn or dusk we'll break from ourselves uncaged.
Okay, next up, we've got IZOTOPE's Vinyl. Now, this is a free plugin that I've had for many, many years. I love using this for that kind of telephonic effect, that vinyl effect. If I'm ever doing any kind of like 90s hip hop, or maybe I'm doing some vocals where I really want to push some emphasis into the bridge or something like that, or maybe I'm doing a section of drums that I'm wanting to feel really small so that they can explode in the chorus, this is my go-to plugin. I absolutely love this. There's lots of different things that you can do to add a vinyl sort of noise. Some things actually degrade the sound, like wear or warp depth. Other things will actually add in new sound, like mechanical noise, electrical noise, dust and scratches. That's all stuff that's going to make it sound like an actual vinyl record. Plus over here, you've got the year that you can set, which basically just tells you like, hey, how dirty do you want this sound? How aggressive do you want these EQ cuts? So I love kind of the 1960s, 1950s, 1930s, all that stuff. You get some really great affected, dirty sounds.
No reason to stay is the best reason to go. So I'll chase these yellow lines.
So the final EQ that I've got on this list is kind of an EQ, kind of a multiband compressor, and that is the TDR Nova Dynamic Equalizer. If you've ever wanted to get into dynamic EQ, but maybe all of the plugins seem so expensive, this is a fantastic place to start. It works just like a regular EQ and a compressor put together. All you have to do is move a band around, maybe boost the gain just so that you could hear it. find the place that, maybe sometimes is really hurting your ears and other times really isn't. Make sure that it's where you want it to be, and then turn your threshold on. You could turn your gain all the way back down, and then just decrease the threshold so that whenever that particular frequency pops up in the song, it turns it down just like a regular EQ would. It sounds honestly pretty great for a free plugin. And it's really, really helpful if maybe you have something where like you don't want to just cut an entire frequency range, but maybe once every 3 or 4 seconds, there's just one note that is really bothering you. This is something that can absolutely help. So let me show you a before and after. Now, especially listen for the really high-pitched plinky sound that happens every few notes. And then listen to how it becomes a lot more tamed, a lot more manageable once I turn the plugin on. Okay, now let's take a look at saturation. So a lot of DAWs don't have very good saturation plugins, if they even have one at all. Now, it's important to know that saturation and distortion, not exactly the same thing. Usually distortion tends to take away frequencies, whereas saturation tends to add new frequencies. Distortion is usually digital, whereas saturation is usually based on analog equipment. Kind of like the extra stuff that happens whenever you push audio too hard through maybe an analog console or an analog tape machine or an analog compressor or something like that. So this is the KLANGHELM IVGI. It's based off of a really, really great desk saturation that they have. And honestly, for a free saturation plugin, this thing is fantastic. It does a great job at just increasing some of the energy of a particular instrument, and also giving it a little bit more thickness, a little bit more drive. Plus, you've got a really handy little tone knob, which you wouldn't have if you were just doing regular saturation, so that you can target specific parts of the frequency spectrum and make sure that you're really getting the tone exactly where you want it to be.
I want to know my name. I want to see my face. There's gonna be a change, yeah. There's gonna be a change. Through dawn or dusk we'll break from ourselves uncaged.
So now let's talk about stereo imaging. So this is IZOTOPE's OZONE Imager 2. Now, it actually comes from their OZONE platform, which is basically their top shelf mastering plugin that they have. Now, you might be starting to notice there's a lot of iZotope on this list. They, in my opinion, make some of the best free plugins. It's crazy what they're just offering for free. But all this does is it just increases or decreases the width of a particular sound. But it also can make a mono signal stereo with its stereoize function. And I'll be honest, I usually don't trust most stereo imagers, especially when they're trying to, stereoize something that's mono. This I've really never had that much issue with as far as mono capability. I don't know what kind of secret sauce that they have in this particular plugin, but I've checked many of my instruments in mono and just increased the stereoize function and increased the width, and I really have not heard much tone suck at all. So I couldn't recommend this plugin enough. I use it in a ton of mixes. It's great on electric guitars that you're wanting to sound a little bit wider, a little bit thicker. It's great on drum overheads, especially in choruses where maybe you're wanting to automate in more width, make them sound even more exciting. Sometimes I'll even use them on my reverbs and occasionally even on my actual mixes. I love adding some automation to give some sense of width and excitement in certain sections of the song. This is great for mix development. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So up next, we've got another stereo plugin. This is the IZOTOPE Vocal Doubler. It's a super simple plugin. It just allows you to create a fake double on top of your actual vocal just to thicken it up, maybe make it a little stereo. It honestly sounds great, especially if you're using it on Ascend. I love mixing this in to get a little bit more thickness in my vocals. Even if I've already done some vocal doubling, it can really sound great.
I want to know my name. I want to see my face. There's gonna be a change, yeah. There's gonna be a change. Through dawn and dusk we'll break from ourselves uncaged.
So our next plugin isn't actually going to change any of the sound, but it is going to help you to mix better. And this is VOXENGO's Span. Now what Span is basically a multimeter. It's got a frequency analyzer, it's got a correlation meter down here for phase problems, it's got a lot of dynamic metering so you can see how loud stuff is. It truly is an all-in-one plugin. It's something that you can keep on your mix bus and just open from time to time to reference. Maybe you're trying to find a particular part of the frequency spectrum that's just not sitting right to you. This is going to show you what it is. Another really cool feature that I love is whenever you are sweeping around here, you can actually see what note you're on. So if I was looking at like maybe a frequency that was just rogue right here, well, I can see that that is a D or maybe a D sharp, and it's about 156 hertz. That's really, really helpful for, maybe figuring out where some of the octaves in the frequency spectrum are, where some of the room resonances are. It's just something that could be very, very helpful for you. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to bring up this acoustic guitar. And you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is the frequency spectrum. It's all of the different frequencies that are being played. And it's showing us that we are perfectly in mono, so we're not having any phase correlation problems. And I can change my metering to any different kind of volume that I want. For example, if I wanted to look at loudness, like a LUFS meter, this is really helpful for that. I can bring that up. It also shows my crest factor, which is great if you're doing any kind of mastering, any kind of stuff where you're trying to get the loudness to be as high as you can. Now, obviously, a lot of DAWs have multimeters like this, but if yours doesn't, or maybe if you just don't like the multimeter that you have in your DAW, Span is your next best choice, especially if you're wanting something completely for free. Okay, I want to show you one more that isn't really going to change the audio at all, but something that is super helpful for your mix. And that is MNOTEPAD by MELDAPRODUCTION. Now, it is literally just a notepad. That's all it is. I can just type in here, "Hello, my name is Dylan." And that's it. But the cool thing is it's actually a plugin. It's something that I can put in my plugin chain. So it's extremely helpful for if I'm wanting to write down any kind of notes about a particular instrument. Maybe if I finish my first draft of a mix and I'm thinking like, okay, in the next draft, I know I'm going to want to do X, Y, Z, but I don't want to forget that. This plugin can help you do that. Just put it at the beginning of your chain or the end of your chain or wherever you want. And you could just go in here and start typing in notes. Maybe I'm saying like upper mids are too heavy. Cut around 4 kilohertz. Maybe I might want to do something like that. Or maybe this is a session that I just tracked and I might say guitar recorded with Shure SM57, 4 inches from the grill. That might be something that would be really helpful for me in the future if I was trying to do some sort of mixing trick and I needed to make sure that I was using the right mic or that I knew exactly where the microphone was. And you can do anything with this. Maybe you're creating a demo and you have a few really cool ideas, but you just don't really want to waste time on creating them right now. Just bring up MNOTEPAD, write it in on the track you're thinking about, and move on. And obviously, you can do anything you want with like the size of the text. It's got a little handy notepad for you here that I have never used, but if you're using an iPad, that can be really, really helpful. And if you want to have several lines going, you can do that. Nice and easy. It's very, very simple. You've even got a handy little symbol section over here in case you need it. So my final plugin of the list, it's another one that's not really going to affect your audio, but it is going to save you a ton of time. And it is the HORNET VU meter. This one also is technically not free, but it's really cheap. It's like $4. It's almost nothing. Here is why I love this plugin so much, and I use it on literally 100% of the mixes that I do. So one of the most important parts of mixes is the mix prep. And one of the biggest parts of the mix prep is gain staging. You know, you want to get all of your tracks to kind of sit around the digital sweet spot, which is usually 0 dB VU. Now, doing gain staging is a bit of a pain. It takes a long time. You've got to get up a VU meter or a loudness meter or whatever, and you have to go track by track and set the gain at a particular level. It can take a long time. It's worth it, but it's not fun. So I found this plugin a while back. I actually had one of the MOAM team members tell me about it. I've never gone back. Here's why it's so great. This auto feature that it has. You can set a particular VU level. You know, I like to set it at +1 or +2, and it basically turns up and down the volume until it's peaking at +1 or +2 VU, which makes gain staging so much faster because you can open up 10 of these and then hit play, and it gets rid of all of them, all in one go. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I've just gone in here, I've turned on my auto function, I'll hit play. Great, and so it has gone in here, it's turned up my volume by 1.9 dBs. I now know I'm going to be sitting pretty much around 0 dB VU on average. I'm gain stage, and it took 2 seconds. It was not hard at all, and had I had a whole bunch of tracks, I could have done all of them at the same time. Now, obviously, the important part with this plugin, it always needs to be the first plugin in your chain because it's the plugin that is setting your gain. Every other plugin is going to be using the volume that you've put in here as the volume for its processing. So that's really, really important. Or you can even do what I do, which is that I add a lot of stuff to my tracks during my mix prep, and then I bounce in place. So I bake it into the sound. So I end up just baking in an actual gain staged sound into the track. So I don't have to actually do any gain staging during my mix, and I don't have to have this plugin on for the entirety of the mix either. It's a nice little trick that I do on 100% of the mixes that I do. So that's it. Those are the free plugins that I use in tons of my mixes. I really love them. I think that you will too. And if you want other free stuff, we've actually got a little present for you. Rob Mazes, the founder of Musician on a Mission, he's put together a free workshop where he goes through the 7 steps of making radio-ready music at home. He's created a new approach to home recording and mixing that's going to help you to do all of the steps so much faster. And seriously, we've had thousands upon thousands of people take this workshop, and they've seen results in their music in just a few days. So if you're wanting to learn these 7 steps and you're wanting to learn them quick and free, maybe you're just trying to up your mixing game, I would go and watch this free workshop now. Just click the link on screen or down in the description below to get your own personal access. It's totally free and you're gonna love it. And of course, I can't forget, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. We make tips and tutorials and lists just like this one every single week on our channel. We'd love to help you grow in any way we can. So that's going to be it from me. This has been Dylan Pines with Musician on a Mission. And remember, create regardless.